Hey, part 2 of the Sir William Boyd episode. My name is Jared Aguilar, physical therapy student out in Austin, Texas. This is the Ducklegs Podcast, and we talk to Dr. Will Boyd of the Knowbodies Podcast, of the Breaking Student Debt Podcast. We talk to Will about student debt, rude awakenings he had in PT school, financial freedom, creativity, self-reflection as exercise, and how to make PT school more exciting. This is a continuation of all the honest feels towards new grad PT life, a state of the union on new grad physical therapy, if you will. Enjoy.
Damn, these kids are fresh. I kind of want to do this.
These Knowbodies are legit.
These are professional pictures of the Knowbodies.
Yeah, they're all looking off to the side.
Jesus, they have ties on.
I know, dude. God.
How do they look so good?
We don't have pants on underneath that, though.
Yeah.
Now we know. You know, I've actually wondered that. I said, I said to Jared, I think this might be weird, but I don't think they have pants on. But now I know. Now
Do you record the Knowbodies without pants on too?
Are you wearing pants right now?
No comment. No comment.
Oh yeah.
Notice how it's
pan down, pan down, pan down, pan down.
Real quick, back to the facade or whatever of the physical therapy world, and I was telling Jared that I think this personally kind of happened to me is the struggle of getting into. So we were talking about the once you get out, you're in debt. It's not exactly what you thought it was. You're grinding. You're not making as much money. And I said I think that another little sprinkle in there from a student's perspective is sometimes. Number one, it's really tough to get into PT school. Anybody that's out there that's having a tough time getting into PT school, you're not alone. It's not easy. I think everyone knows that. And you also, they love to throw that little doctorate in there. So sometimes I felt like, for me personally, I just got blindly, wildly raged into getting into school. I don't care how much debt I go in. I'll go into $1 million worth of debt.
I'll pay whatever I need to.
Whatever I can get, yeah.
There was a point where I was looking at like Puerto Rico schools and shit.
Oh, yeah, people will do that.
You're just like, I need to get into PT school some kind of way because I've got a kinesiology degree, and that kinesiology degree doesn't mean shit. I can only be a PE teacher or another teacher or some vaguely
doctorate.
Yeah, right. I want to do something besides being a personal trainer and PE. I would like to be in the healthcare profession and make that. I have a potential to make a little bit more money, and then it's that tunnel vision. Yeah, that kind of fucks you up at the end where you don't think about this is a lot of money. Yeah. What's the job outlook? And what are schools actually going to teach you?
And then the irony of it is that the loans that we have, the generation before us don't have. That's the biggest irony of this whole thing, that the people that are teaching us that say, suck it up, you'll go off and go be great. They didn't have the kind of loans we have. I talk to my mentor about it all the time.
I would love to know from you guys, what do you, I obviously have my own opinion, but what do you guys think in terms of, do you feel like school was what you thought it would be? PT school?
I think that it is definitely noticeably not what I thought it would be. And part of this is on me. This is something that I'm just recently realizing. And it might be a little bit of call on myself, but you know how when you got into undergrad, you're like, well, this is pretty much just like high school again. You're like, I'm still just cranking out assignments last second. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, it'll be different when I'm getting my doctorate, right? That'll be completely different. Then all of a sudden you're like, after your first year and the lust is kind of worn away and you're like, this is just like undergrad and I'm just cranking out assignments, Yeah. And then every once in a while you get some glimmer of structure in your life and you spend forever on assignment, 5 hours, and you learn all about something, and then you don't continue that. And I don't know, just that, whatever that experience was beforehand, I'm like, this is just I've got a stack of books over there. I actually wrote a blog about this. I'm ranting a little bit. I wrote a blog about it. I never released it. It was you're coming to see me and I'm your doctor, and I never read any of my textbooks. I got a stack of textbooks over there that I could put on display that I just didn't read. and how shitty is that? When you go in to go see your doctor, you think like, this is the guy that read the books in class. Like, while I was cheating off my neighbor, he was doing all the good. And you're like, nah, not really. They're all,
But I think that speaks to, you're in the hustle of school, and the way our school, what Will is saying, the way our school is designed right now, it's designed for you to pass the test. It's designed for you to jump through the hoops. Right? What do you say to that, Will?
Yeah, no, I would completely agree, and I think it's on us. I think, and maybe not us right now, but helping the younger generation figure out like what's the best thing for them. Because I don't know, what do you guys think? Like, I personally feel like you could get a PT degree as still a bachelor's degree. Like, I think that the basic sciences, maybe if we did them better in high school, like, why not jump into the 3-4 year program of a PT bachelor degree?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely some water to hold. I think that's got some support.
I spent 4 years at LSU, doing the pre-PT path, and that was your chemistry, your basic sciences, and it's nice to learn that information, but I think that it wasn't necessary. I mean, I think if you were to replace that with, like, around high school, you go to maybe a 4-year PT program, or even 5, like some kind of path, kind of like schools like Quinnipiac have, like you enter as a undergrad on the PT track. I think that would, maybe there's an argument to say that your undergrad doesn't need to be that extensive, or you can make your undergrad as short as possible.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because they used to have a lot more programs like that where it's like a 3-and-3.
3-and-3s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I have no idea where those went. More money, I guess.
I've got a wild idea, and it's just completely irrational, but I would love for PT school to be more of like this big boot camp, like workout, where it's like 7 a.m. Your whole class hits the gym together, and then you learn like stretches that are like you stretch yourself like by yourself, and then you learn how to stretch others like semester 2, and then like it carries over to nutrition. I wanted to go to like basic training, like it, and like you got a afternoon workout session where it's like, and then you do specifics, like, okay, this semester we're doing yoga and power lifting. I think
almost
hardcore like that.
Almost like technical schools where they just like immerse you in it completely.
You want a technical physical therapy ortho school.
Yep, that's exactly what I want.
Like, basically, like, you never seen a chef that in their first week that wasn't already like cutting up carrots.
Yeah.
Like, why does it take 2 years to get to finally, here goes my first person I've ever seen. I've been sitting on my butt for the last 2 years. Now all of a sudden I'm going to get up and try to teach this person how to exercise. Like, I haven't worked out in 6 months.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is then who benefits or who would lose if we were to go back to that system, right? And
schools.
Schools.
Yeah, I'm going to say we already know the answer to that.
Mm-hmm. And so, I don't think this is really interesting. When I was talking with Joe Rinke of FitBucks, is that the institutions have no reason to change.
No reason.
Because the government is giving us all this money to give to the institutions, right? And the government has no incentive to stop lending money to us because we still as a society have bought into this traditional style of education. It's still the best way out of a lower income and to get into a higher income bracket, right? And that's still based off the traditional method that you need to be in a classroom X amount of hours a day learning these things, and that's going to cost you X amount of money to do that, right? Think like the history of things, and I'm no historian, I'm just kind of going off my thoughts here, that it used to be that getting access to books in a library had a huge value, right? Because you couldn't find those anywhere else. You literally had to pay to get access to those textbooks, right? Well, now we have this wonderful thing that's called the internet that you don't need to go to a library. Shit, there are people in my class, including me, who took like years to figure out where the library was. You need to go there, right? Like, it's all online. The same thing with you, Tyler, with your textbooks, right? Like, all of that can be found online if you're smart about how you do that. And really, you could probably teach yourself in that method. I think that kind of comes back to the internal versus external structure again. A lot of times we still need that structure. But the hard thing is if there's no reason to change from the institution because they're still getting money from students, because students still value the concept of, we'll call it consumer. The consumer values this education, right? And they can't afford it on their own, so they go to the government, and the government values the return that they'll get from these consumers. Who has any reason to change? The consumers as the students are going to be the ones that are going to have to change. And that's where I love where Daimir goes to school and what Jeff Moore and South College and Baylor and what they're trying to do is at least make slow progress. Do I think it's perfect yet? No, but I think it's at least a step in the right direction that's saying, all right, let's see if we can cut this to 2 years, and then you get a year where you go out and get a residency, get paid during that residency. Is it ideal? No, you're still not going to make probably what you could earn otherwise. But are we starting to make some changes on the consumer side? Because I think that's where we need to go. And I think Evidence in Motion, John Childs, those guys are really, really trying to make it happen. And I think from there, we kind of perfect that a little bit more. How can we make this better? And I think it comes to us. At what point is too much of a cost to go to PT school, right? Like I was asking my friend yesterday, I said, if PT school were $150,000, would you still have gone? And ours was pretty close. And he's like, yeah, obviously. I mean, I ended up paying 100 something anyways. I was like, would 200? He's like, yeah, probably. Like, I guess that's what it would have had to do to be a PT. What about $500,000? He's like, no way, dude, I'd never spend that. All right, so where do we stop? You know, like where do we find this point? At what point? Because essentially it's going to cause us as humans and consumers to change, right? It's like an iPhone is worth buying at, or an Android is worth buying at like $700, $800, right? We've kind of agreed on that. But then if it was $5,000, shoot, man, I'd be like, I might have to go back to my Nokia flip phone from like 10 years ago. You know, like, I can't afford that. At what point does education, that's my Gary V, is education, you know, at what point is there not a return on what we define as education? And if it's not, we need to F and be the ones to change education.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whew. Yeah, yeah.
When you change the word from student to consumer, that just something about that just completely.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, so with let's say a house, right? You can take someone's house away, right? Like you buy a house, you own a house. Like with education, I mean, you're really a consumer in the fact that you purchase this good. And the hard thing with education is it's not tangible, right? Like I can't say, hey, Jared, you didn't pay back your student loan. Give me back like 300 pieces of knowledge that you know right now. So you can't get that back. And that's it's a gamble. I mean, I think we just see that the government is and society, what we're doing is gambling on the fact that yes, education will be a positive return on investment. But I think we're starting to see more and more that's not always the case, right? Like your kinesiology degree, my bachelor's in international studies or Spanish. There's no way in hell that I could have paid that back by now, making whatever I would have made as a Spanish teacher, right? Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, at what point do we say it's not worth becoming a Spanish teacher because I can't even ever get out of debt to be financially free? And I don't think we're that far away from PT students, people wanting to get into PT school going, damn, I really want to be a PT student. Or I really want to be a PT, but is it worth this financial investment?
Yeah. And unfortunately, they go onto that BLS website and look, 85,000. Wow, I can, buy my mama house with that car. Dude, that says medium. For one, that's medium salary. Look at that lower number. That's probably where you'll start at. And then secondly, that's going to take you years to get there, especially in the way this market's going. So, and
my message to any students out there listening is start finding out what else besides PT is your that you like. And it doesn't have to be just besides PT, but could be within PT. Maybe it's exercise, right? Maybe it's a podcast. Maybe it's just talking with people, communicating. The real way I think out of financial freedom for us as PTs and PT students is figuring out how can we leverage in those hours after our clinical work that you can help create and impact more and more people, right? I think we're so creative. I think we have so many wonderful people in this profession that are so creative. But it's really hard to be creative when you have these shackles on your creativity, when you're focused on debt, you're focused on, meeting productivity. And the reality is you can only help so many people in a day with your hands working one-on-one. And it's necessary. We're always going to need it. And I love that about our field. But the reality is that's a fixed number of people we can help, right? Sure, we can add more PTs, but it's still only going to be fixed. You can only physically see so many people in a day. What if we start looking at things differently, like a Mike Eisenhart? How can we affect more people on a industrial level, right? Like people spend 9 to 5 at their jobs, right? What if we can help impact that 9 to 5 time? And then all of a sudden they don't need to see us for an hour afterwards because they're actually living a life that helps them stay mobile, right? Kind of like Tyler was saying, sometimes you don't want to get up on a Saturday. Like movement isn't always the most exciting thing or most motivating thing in itself. But if we create a lifestyle and a system that makes you feel like you need to move, we incentivize things like that. You think about how many more people could we impact, right? And I think that's where we can go as a profession. I think if you're new grad, to start thinking that way. You don't have to know the answers. I don't know the answers. I don't think even the people that we look up to have the answer, right? I think it's just starting somewhere and trying to figure it out. And, you know, my mission, I think really my mission right now and through the podcast is with the Knowbodies, it's just been meeting all these students who have these great ideas and want to do things that just don't know where to start. And I feel like the best thing I can do is just help them start and say, it's okay. You don't have to know the answer. You don't have to know the result. Just go try, see what happens. Yeah, man. And that's a long way to say, like, I'm super proud of you guys that you're just trying, man. You're trying to make a change. You're trying to learn more and do something different because there's so many great, talented people in this field. I think we're just shackled by restrictions and, I don't know. It's tough for me to say as a new grad. I wish I was going out into the field right now. Like, man, I can't wait to go treat 23 patients a day. Like I'm going to be on top of the world. It's everything I want. Like, I can't really truthfully say that, man. Like, and I want to be real for you guys that it's more like, damn, I don't know that I'm going to have a life outside of seeing 20 some patients a day.
So what's going to make you happy? Two questions. Are you happy right now? Second, what will make you happy? What does your ideal life look like? If I could snap my fingers, boom, and you have a Chipotle burrito and your ideal clinical, consulting, whatever other business, entrepreneurial endeavors you want, if I could snap my fingers and make it happen, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I really think so. For me, I think first off, I really try to, I hope I lead by example with this in my own way, that I think so much of it comes down to self-reflection and really thinking about what do you want for you. And that's really hard. I think that we think it's really easy. I'm going to go sit and write in my journal for like 20 minutes and I'll figure out who I am and what I want. Right. But it's a continual activity. It's like exercise, right? You have to constantly be self-assessing. What do I want out of life? What's going to make me happy? And it's tough, man. It's not an easy process. And I think so much so that it's hard that most people just ignore it because it can bring up maybe some things we're not comfortable with yet. But for me, I would say am I happy right now? I am happy right now. And I think probably because I've just seen progress in the last year. Like, so for anyone who's out there right now, like, I know maybe it sounds like, wow, this, 2 podcasts and building websites for people. I knew zero about any of that a year ago. I didn't know how to use social media beyond posting about, some funny cat video that popped up, right? Like, I didn't know how to use WordPress. I didn't know how to use Weebly. I didn't know how to make a podcast. I didn't even know how to hit record on an audio thing in the computer. And so this past year has just been like a little bit of progress of just trying to learn something new and more every single day. And so I am really happy. And it's mostly because of that. It's not that I've accomplished anything. It's just that general progression of becoming better at something. I guess for me, at the end of the day, what I'd really love to do is I would love to have a private clinic on my own that I can have people come in throughout the week whenever. It's not I'm open from 8 to 5 kind of thing. It's hopefully have like 12 to 20 clients that, hey man, Tuesday at 7 p.m. is when I can be seen. Great. Come on in. We'll do that. And then I think the other part of what I'd like to do is I would like to help PTs grow their businesses more is what I'd really like to do. In my mind right now, I really am kind of fixated on thinking of how can I help us as a profession grow to reach more and more people. I'm not the brightest guy in the world, so I know my clinical skills will never be that of the like highest level of those guys. I could. It's just, honestly, for me, it's about providing the best care that I can. But then really what I'd love to do is work with businesses. Like for me, I think what would be happy is to see a challenge to go to a grocery store down the street that has 30 employees and ask, how much are you spending on healthcare costs? How many days are people missing because they have back pain, neck pain? All right, let's really sit down. Can I just come watch for like 2 days how people move in this place? And then really break it apart and say, okay, we can see some trends here, people's movements. I don't know how this will work or what it will look like, but that's what I would love to do. I'd love to go and assess, help people live better throughout the 8 to 5 and 9 to 5. I'm a huge believer that the 9 to 5 world is messed up. I think it's still based on agriculture. Like, that's when the sun's up, we should all be out working, right? Like, but if Jared can accomplish just the same amount from 6 to 10 in the morning, because that's when his peak productivity is, why the hell should Jared be at an office from 8 to 5 and then during the day? Yeah, and that's a lot of rambling. I really don't have a lot of like evidence to back it up. That's just that's my mindset and the things that I think that's my ultimate goal of what I'm trying to get to. For now, it's going to be working full time as a PT. But I hope not too long I can start to make that happen.
Yeah, I think a lot of stuff that you brought up is counter society, right? It is making people question why we have certain things running the way they are, far as like, it's now we've made it normal to take out these loans. We've made it normal to pay so much for PT school. We've made it normal to have a 9 to 5 job, and I think Dimir can attest to this too, and Tyler as well, that all three of us, and including you, Will, we all want to break from these shackles, as you put, and the cycle of, I have a 9 to 5 job. I have to go and pay loans, and I have to go, commute to my daily job every day that I kind of don't like. And I have a boss that I kind of don't like, but that's just the way it is,
Yeah. It's good to recognize that, right? Like that takes that self-reflection that it's not, no one, and I think it goes back to like the student loan thing, that no one has an incentive to change that, right? Like,
right.
The person above you has no incentive to say, hey, Jared, you know what? Your quality of life really matters to me, man. Like, I really care about you. It's, hey, Jared, guess what, man? You're not meeting, the productivity levels that we said. I'm not getting paid as much as I can get paid if you're not doing what you need to do. And it's not to say that everywhere is like that, but it takes someone to kind of step back and say, like, I kind of disagree with that system, and I'm going to have to go try something else out. And I guess that's a big thing, is just being willing to trial and error. Mm-hmm. You're going to be wrong a lot, but if it's something that you believe in and you want, like, it's worth trying for to see if you can make it happen. Oh, yeah. And
one life. We only got one life, Will.
It's so true. It's cliche, but it's so, man, it's so true. And if you catch yourself in that mode of like just not being happy, that's hard to live with at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, usual does not mean normal. Heard that the other day. So just because something usual does not mean it's normal. So challenge the status quo and then get after it, because at one point in time, normal was normal. Now was not normal before. So, I mean, unless like having a baby, that's been happening since the beginning of time, right? I mean, that's normal and usual. Right. But there's some stuff we see nowadays was not.
Slavery was normal at one point. Now we kind of look down on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't really a good part of our history. Fewer people have slaves now.
Right.
Now we just call them workers, right, man? Yeah. Fucking the man has slaves, right? We don't want to be slaves, man.
What's happening to you?
What's got me inspired, man? Ready to burn this shit down.
I know, right?
Let me put it back on you guys, because I think I know you guys enough that I know the answer, but maybe the people listening don't. And that, what do you guys want? What do you guys think? Because you guys are still in it. I mean, you guys are. I'm not far removed, but you guys are still in this process, and I'm putting myself in your shoes. When I was at this point, I was at a point where I was really disillusioned by what I thought physical therapy was. I thought I could change people with my hands. I thought I was going to be this like, healer, magician, and I mean, personally, magic hands. Yeah. Personally, now I really am more of a philosophy now that just most people need general movement and a little bit of touch to help kind of calm the nervous system down. That's a whole different day. But what do you guys think would make you guys happy?
Well, I'll go first on this one. I was in the same boat you were. Before I entered PT school, I was like 15 years down the line. I'm finally going to open up my own practice. I'm going to be the best healer that the world has ever seen, be the greatest therapist, have like 15 awards from, the Academy of Physical Therapy. I was, that's what I was thinking. And then after I got in school, I was like, that is not my dream at all. And, I've talked to Jared about this multiple times. I'm like, man, I don't even know. Honestly, we're on a PT-based class. I was like, I don't even know if I have to be a physical therapist to even do what I want to do. That is crazy. It's crazy. And, I'm not going to go through a long list of it, but it was like, I don't even know if I have to be a therapist. I was like, my school is great. I mean, we're doing some pretty innovative stuff, so I'm lucky in that aspect. But when I really boiled down to what I really wanted, open up my own, CrossFit gym or gym, do some consulting, just get people moving. I mean, I'm sure Jill Michaels doesn't have a PT degree, and she got, millions of people moving every day on a NOTA track, right?
Yeah.
You make a great point, and here's a follow-up question. Feeling that way, which I think, having talked to a lot of PT students now, you're not alone in that. I would say I feel that way too. How do you feel then when I say that you had to pay $100,000 to learn that lesson?
If I would have known that, I'm thinking about many ways to get out of it, but it's too late now, right? I mean,
but we need these talks, man. We really need these, and it's not I don't think we're trying to bash.
Absolutely not.
The profession or education. I just think it's a real thing. It'd be a disservice to say that we don't feel this way. Lie and say, oh, it's wonderful, it's great. Like, it's totally worth this. Yeah, exactly. Like I really think we need these conversations because I know you're not alone. And I know the groups that we are involved in, we hear it a lot, and something's got to give at some point, right?
So here's a question though. So how much have you learned in physical therapy school? To me, that's always such a difficult question because they'll say like, oh, what'd you learn this semester? And you're like, I don't, part of you feels like you didn't learn anything. But then like sometimes you have these moments of enlightenment where you're like, oh, I didn't know anything. I couldn't have told you the 4 rotator cuff muscles before I went into PT school. And you try to like think, and someone, maybe like a friend of yours before you went to PT school makes a comment and you kind of forget how much you have learned. This is a little bit of devil's advocate because I do want to make it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm definitely on y'all's side. Like,
no.
it's definitely, but it's hard to say, how much have you learned? How much do PTs know compare? Yeah, go for it, right? Man.
Okay. Just to answer that, I actually heard this one time. If you ever have to justify something, you probably shouldn't have been doing it anyways.
So, like, justify like how much you've learned.
Right. So for instance, like if you couldn't just spit off, like I learned this, and some of it might do some recall, but if you were like, hey, you had to go down to like the deepest like neuron in your brain to figure it out, then hey, I mean that's justifying and not necessarily your, whatever, I'm not playing.
It's just not. It's not enough. You should be able to answer that question like that.
This is a little off. This is a tangent, but I'm going to bounce it right back.
All right,
it's just a little experiment for Tyler. Okay,
let's get it.
One word descriptions, right? That he has to give me. Okay.
All right.
PT school
sucks.
SFMA
is awesome.
All right then. That was.
I'm a big SFMA. I think if people listen to the thing, I think that
the point of that was to go and this is two different.
What Dimir was saying,
right?
Like,
two different topics, two different organizations. We have a 4-year PT school program that we're in, multi-dimensional. We got CAPTI, so much bureaucracy in that, and then we have a 2-day weekend course that you were really into.
Yeah,
and
felt like it changed my life.
Yeah. And
I was like at one of those religious.
bunch of singing and dancing. And
I was like, oh, I found it.
And SFMA saved you. And that's just kind of whether.
Shout out to Greg Rose.
Whether have you been sending him all those texts? I've been trying, man.
He doesn't respond.
It's the ratio.
I did the 5 messages. It's supposed to work. You damn it!
You fucked up. But that's going back to what we're saying is like, you also need to be excited, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if PT school is exciting people right now.
It's not exciting. PT school is boring as hell, dude. I tell people, I'm like, I've learned more about. Oh my God. I've learned more about, you know what I hate? This is what I hate so much. I've said this before. I learned more about how to document correctly than I did on how to fix people. And I think that's so screwed up. I'm like, I learned more. People are like, what have you learned? I'm like, dude, I've learned, a good thing is I've learned more about how to recover a stroke person, which is very important. Or like, it's just not your general thing. Like my big thing is, this is what I said to Johnny Owens, low back pain. I don't know shit about how to fix low back pain, but that's the big thing in society. It's probably movement, general movement, and things like that. Like Will was talking about earlier. Right. For you people out there that are wondering, just move more. But
you haven't gotten to a level yet in PT school, and you've already, about 14 months.
Oh, dude, it's like it's a home stretch,
and there's no real world applications. Like I guess when we look to guys like Greg Todd and Jeff Moore. That the content they're providing, you can do stuff with now, right? Well,
quick. That pisses me off so much. You go listen to Jeff Moore for an effing hour, and you're like, "Thank you. I've been waiting for that for a long time. Yeah. I appreciate that, Ben Fung. You just saved all of my questions." Like it's like they have some sort of like key that they're holding it from. That they're like, I don't know.
I think it goes back to what do we perceive as real education, right?
Yeah, I think you're definitely on to something there with that real education stuff.
Will is breaking down our societal barriers, man.
That's
all the constructs are coming down.
I mean, I think that I'm really jealous of like Daimir and the program they've got, and that, you go for these lab intensives and you get guys from the EIM, if you're not familiar, evidence in motion, company that come down and teach these courses. You're getting these people who see the future of how all this is going to play out. I think most of the PT education world is still, because there's no incentive to change, there's so much money that there's no reason to look to change anything, right? There's no push, right? You need stress, like our body, for a muscle to change or muscle hypertrophy, whatever it is, there's got to be an overload of stress. Right? And we're not seeing that in the PT education system. And I guess maybe we'll start to see it. Like, I think we're seeing some stress come down the pipeline from guys like me who are new grads and you guys soon to be new grads that just aren't happy. Right? We're not happy in this environment that's been created. And just because someone says, well, that's how it's always been, you even have it easier, it doesn't make it justified, right? Like it's not like saying, I don't even have a good example, but like, just because something's always been done like one way and there's no like necessarily awful thing about it. Like if you're like, I'm not happy about it,
it doesn't make it right.
Or there's no reason that it shouldn't be able to be changed. And and to Tyler's point, like there are guys out there who are willing, guys and women out there who are willing to show us a different way. Unfortunately, it's not given to us. We have to go find it.
Yeah.
And that might make it more valuable too, to be like, I am reaching out to seek more information and improve myself. I'm not just going to rely on the basic school level. But then you think about, but I'm paying so much fucking money to be here and I should be excited just for the value benefit. Like I get way more excited. It's night and day to listen to Jeff Moore on a podcast or see Jeff Moore in person as opposed to going to fucking school. I ain't paying Jeff Moore shit, but I'm paying $100K for school. I'm taking out government money to go to a place that that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool stuff.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And see, the irony is that one of my professors, he's like really big into social media. I read all of his blog posts, but the content that he's delivering right now, I'm not going to say what class, he's going to find me somehow. The content that he delivered is putting me to sleep. Snooze button, right? I mean, it's all about perspective too, Like if we Like it's like almost about stress. Like if you think stress is bad, then it'll be bad for you. If you think stress is good, then it might drive you to go do something. So, we're not trying to bash PT school, by any means. Yeah. And there are great PTs out there, and there are great professors. There's great schools. There are things that are right. I think there's 100 things that are right, but if we really boil down to, we can find maybe 50 things that are wrong that we just want to change, right? We just want to push this profession forward, because last thing I want to see is whenever I get older, there's a therapist there that's treating me that if it's the same way it is right now, I'm like, I feel sorry for you. You're going to have to do some stuff that I wouldn't do, right? You had to put up the same thing. So the only thing we're trying to do is push the bar forward in that sense.
Could you imagine being in a SNF as an old person and just seeing some young douchebag therapist coming in like, all right, Mr. Boy, knowing in the back of his head, he's like, I got to meet this fucking 95% productivity shit. All right, I need you to get up and I'm going to be documenting over here, and I need you to do leg raises, man. Good. You looking good. Like,
that is awful. That'd be awful. That'd be awesome. So, hey,
I think what more than anything, what I'm happy to talk with you guys is that we just need more of these conversations, right? I don't think schools really want to hear these conversations because they don't necessarily have the incentive to change. So I think it's us to talk to each other and the people that are thinking about making decisions coming up about whether or not all this money is worth this education that comes out. So, really, I'm so proud and happy to watch you guys do this, because we just need more of these conversations, man. And we don't have to have answers, right? And I don't think any of us are sitting here saying we know what's best. I know I have strong opinions. I'm not here to say that I know what's right or wrong by any means, and I don't think any of us feel that way. It's just we need to have more real conversations instead of just brushing it under the rug like, no, it's fine, it'll get better. It's just how it is. Like, it's just not good enough,
Yeah. I thought back to that meme where that cartoon's just burning in the house. Yeah. And it's like, everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah. I'm fine. I promise you, I'm fine. So Will, real quick, the final question of the day is always, what is your favorite duck? But I want to put a little twist on this one, though. Uh-oh. So you lived in Pittsburgh for a little bit, and I know they had the Pittsburgh Penguins there. Mm-hmm. So question, do you think the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to win another Stanley Cup before the Sidney Crosby era is over with? I don't even know if you watch hockey or not. I'm just asking.
I do. Okay. Yeah, it's hard to live in the city and not watch, but yes, I think I think the only team that could beat them are themselves.
Yep. Cool. Ooh. Sounds good. Cool. Thank you.
Shout out to the Penguins.
Yeah. Malkin, baby. Who's the favorite? What's your favorite? Dimir, you got to get him, though. What's the favorite duck?
All right. Yeah. So what's your favorite duck?
Darkwing Duck for sure.
Second time we heard that one.
That's the second. Alan Fredrinal mentioned.
Oh man, I'm not let Alan know about that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Go check the episode out.
We got educated on Darkwing Duck that day.
And real quick, Will, where can people find you and reach you?
On Twitter at Will_B_Cameron, and then at 2 Knowbodies on Twitter. Those are the places.
And WillBoydPT.com too?
WillBoydPT.com. Yeah.
You're welcome.
How you spell Boyd?
BOYD. The B for badass.
Yeah.
Well, Boyd, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
It's been humbling. It's been humbling to be on the show, guys.
Appreciate it.
My man.
You are that dude.
Boyd is the dude. Dr. Boyd is the dude.
Dr. Boyd.
Not yet, man. Not yet. Not until I pay down all these loans.
Yeah.
The irony.
Soon.